The day I stepped into the sleek headquarters of Voss Innovations in downtown Manhattan, everything seemed like a dream come true after years of struggle. Natalie Voss, the self-made millionaire CEO known for her sharp mind and even sharper business tactics, had selected me, Ruby Lane, out of hundreds of applicants to be her personal assistant with a salary triple what I was making at my previous dead-end job, and the promise of a live-in position to make things easier. But as I unpacked my suitcase in the guest suite of her luxurious penthouse that overlooked the glittering lights of New York City that first evening, little did I know that the woman who had just hired me had already bound me to her in a way that would turn my world upside down. Natalie greeted me with a professional smile, her tall frame dressed in a tailored black suit that screamed power, her dark hair pulled back in a sophisticated bun. "Ruby, welcome. I hope the place feels comfortable. We will discuss your duties over dinner," she said in her smooth, confident voice. I nodded, still in awe of the marble floors and floor-to-ceiling windows. After a delicious meal prepared by her private chef, she led me to the study, a room lined with books and awards. She handed me a folder. "Before we get started, you need to understand something important." I opened it and my breath caught. It was a marriage license from the state of New York dated several months ago, listing Natalie Voss and Ruby Lane as spouses. My signature was there from the day I signed what I thought were employment contracts in a rush because I was so desperate for the job. "What is this?" I gasped, my hands shaking. "How is this possible? I did not agree to this." Natalie sat down across from me, her expression serious but not apologetic. "It is legal, Ruby. I had to do it for my father's will. The trust fund that controls the majority of the company requires the CEO to be married to show stability and family values. The board is old school, and with my father passing last year, they were threatening to vote me out if I did not comply. I needed a wife on paper, someone trustworthy and discreet. After researching candidates, you fit perfectly. The documents you signed included the marriage paperwork as part of the confidential package." I know it was a shock tactic, but I had no choice. I stood up, my mind racing with anger and confusion. "You tricked me. This is illegal. I can sue you. My life is not a tool for your business." The room felt smaller, the luxury now a cage. I thought about my mother back in Texas, her conservative views, how she would react if she knew her daughter was married to a woman. My past struggles with accepting my own feelings for women, the pressure to date men, all came flooding back. Natalie stood to her eyes pleading yet firm. "I will compensate you generously, Ruby. $10 million at the end of 2 years, and your debts paid immediately. Think about it. You can walk away, but the contract has clauses. It is binding unless we both agree to annul. Stay tonight and think. This could be the opportunity of a lifetime for both of us." I stormed to my room, slamming the door, my heart pounding. The city lights mocked me from the window. Was this the price of survival in New York? I had left my small town to escape the judgment, the expectations to marry a man and settle down. Now this. The internal battle began, the moral dilemma of staying for the money to help my family versus the betrayal. Sleep evaded me as I weighed the options, the shock settling into a deep anxiety. By morning I knew I had to confront her again, but the decision was far from easy. That night I paced the plush carpet, replaying every moment of the interview process. I had been so eager, so blinded by the offer that I barely read the fine print. My student loans from the community college, my mother's medical bills after her heart surgery, everything had piled up, until I was one eviction notice away from disaster. Natalie had seemed like a savior when she called me personally after my resume crossed her desk. Now I saw the calculation behind her charm. She had chosen me because my background check showed no close ties, no social media scandals, and a quiet life that would not raise questions. The realization stung like a slap. I was not hired for my skills alone, I was selected as the perfect prop for her empire. Morning came too soon. I found Natalie in the kitchen, already dressed for the day, sipping coffee as if the previous night had been a minor business deal. "We need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach. She nodded and gestured to the stool across from her. I sat, trying to ignore how the sunlight highlighted her strong features, making her look both formidable and strangely vulnerable. "The will is ironclad," she explained quietly. "My father built this company from nothing, but he never accepted who I am. The clause was his final way to control me, even from the grave. Marry or lose controlling interest. The board would love an excuse to install one of their sons. You were the only candidate who checked every box, and the agency handled the paperwork discreetly." I laughed bitterly. So I am just a name on a form. What happens when the 2 years are up? We annul and I disappear with a check while you keep your throne. Natalie set her cup down, her fingers tightening. It is not that simple, Ruby. Public perception matters. We have to appear real for the board meetings, the galas, the investors. But I promise you will have your freedom after. No one gets hurt if we play it right. Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of her own isolation. I saw it then, the toll her secrets had taken, the way her shoulders carried more than just the company. Still the anger burned. You took my choice away, I whispered. That is not nothing. She did not argue. Instead, she slid a check across the counter, my first month's salary plus a bonus that could clear my mother's bills. Take it as a start. Stay the week and see if you can live with it. If not, we discuss options. I stared at the paper, my hand hovering. The practical part of me, the one that had scraped by on ramen and night shifts, screamed to grab it. The moral part, the one shaped by Sunday sermons and family dinners, screamed to tear it up and walk out. In the end, I folded the check and slipped it into my pocket, the first of many compromises I would make. As I left for my new duties, organizing her schedule and shadowing meetings, the city buzzed below us, indifferent to the lie we had just begun. The rest of the day blurred in a haze of learning curves and forced proximity. Natalie moved through her empire like a force of nature, barking orders in boardrooms and charming investors on calls. I trailed behind, notebook in hand, trying to ignore the whispers from her staff about the sudden new assistant who lived in the penthouse. By evening, my head throbbed with details and doubts. Back at the penthouse, she suggested we review the calendar over takeout. Sitting across from her on the sleek couch, I felt the strangeness settle in. This was my life now, at least for now. The internal conflict raged as I nodded along to her plans for the upcoming shareholder event, where we would first appear as a couple. How far was I willing to go for security? How much of myself would I lose in the process? The night ended with me retreating to my room again, the marriage certificate burning a hole in my memory. Little did I know this was only the beginning of the prices we would both pay. The next morning, the weight of the contract pressed on me like the Manhattan skyline outside the windows. I woke to the smell of fresh coffee and found Natalie already at the dining table reviewing reports, her laptop glowing in the soft light. She looked up with a small nod, as if last night's revelation had been settled business. We have a charity gala tonight, she said, handing me a schedule. It is the perfect low-pressure way to introduce you as my wife. No big announcements, just natural presence. I nearly choked on my own coffee. Tonight. You expect me to smile and play happy couple after what you did? Natalie closed her laptop, her gaze steady. It is not play, Ruby, it is survival. The board members will be there watching. One wrong move and they push for a vote. I need you by my side, looking committed. In return, I will transfer the first debt payment today. Your mother's hospital balance can be zero by noon. The offer hit hard. I thought of Mom alone in her small Texas house, worrying about every bill. I had lied to her about the new job, saying it was a standard assistant role with good benefits. The truth would shatter her. Fine, I said, the word tasting like defeat. But this does not make us friends. We spent the afternoon preparing. Natalie had a stylist bring dresses, and I stood in front of the mirror in a deep emerald gown that made me look like someone else entirely. She adjusted the strap on my shoulder, her fingers brushing my skin, sending an unwelcome spark through me. You look the part, she murmured. I pulled away, focusing on the reflection of two women who on paper shared a life. The internal question swirled. Was I attracted to her power, her confidence, or was this the beginning of something real that terrified me more than the lie? At the gala, the grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and the elite of New York. Natalie introduced me simply as her wife, Ruby, and the reactions ranged from polite smiles to raised eyebrows. One older board member clapped her on the back. Finally settling down, Natalie, good for the image. I smiled through clenched teeth, holding her arm as we mingled. Every touch felt calculated, every glance from strangers carried judgment. A woman in a red dress, who I later learned was a rival executive, leaned in with a sly smile. Sudden marriage, Natalie. How convenient. The comment lingered as we danced a slow number under the lights. Natalie pulled me close, her voice soft in my ear. Ignore them. We are in this together now. For the first time, I felt the pull, not just resentment but a shared vulnerability. Her body against mine was warm, solid, and for a moment the drama faded. Back at the penthouse after midnight, we sat on the balcony with wine. She opened up a little about her father's final days, how he had changed the will to force her hand because he could not accept her orientation. I told her about my own family, the Sunday services, the blind dates with church boys, the quiet shame I carried when I realized I preferred women. The conversation stretched into the night, building a fragile bridge over the chasm of betrayal. The following days settled into a tense routine. I managed her schedule, coordinated meetings, and learned the rhythms of her world while the marriage hovered like a shadow. A video call with my mother tested me. She asked about the new job, her voice full of hope. "It is great, Mom," I lied. "The penthouse is amazing. When are you bringing a nice boy home?" she pressed. I froze, glancing at Natalie, who was working nearby. "Soon, maybe," I said, the words burning. Hanging up, I felt the first crack in my resolve. The family pressure I had fled was now amplified by the secret. Natalie noticed my mood and suggested a walk in Central Park. As we strolled among the trees, she shared more about her past, an ex who had used her for money, then threatened to out her to the board. The betrayal had made her cautious, made her choose a paper wife over real risk. I listened, understanding the fear but still resenting the choice she made for me. By the end of the week, the lines blurred. A small gesture from her paying off another debt without asking brought tears to my eyes. Yet in quiet moments I questioned everything. Was I selling my integrity for security? Was the growing warmth between us genuine or just the result of forced proximity? The gala had shown me the societal stares, the whispers about two women together. Prejudice was not abstract, it was real, and it would only grow. That night, as I lay in bed, the city humming below, I made a tentative decision to stay longer to see where the path led. The price was mounting, but so was the connection. Little did I know the real tests were just beginning. Weeks turned into a delicate dance of appearances and private truths. The upcoming board meeting loomed like a storm cloud, and Natalie insisted we rehearse our story until it felt seamless. We sat at the dining table with scripts of how we met at a networking event, how our connection was instant. I recited the lines, feeling like an actress in a play I never auditioned for. But the rehearsals brought us closer. One evening after a long session, she cooked dinner herself, a simple pasta that surprised me with its warmth. As we ate, she asked about my dreams beyond the job. "I want to finish my degree in business, maybe start something small," I admitted. "The money from this will help." She nodded thoughtfully. "Then we make sure you get that chance, Ruby." The call with my sister came unexpectedly. She had seen a photo from the gala on a social media post someone had tagged. "Ruby, is that you with Natalie Voss? Are you two?" Her voice trailed off in disbelief. I tried to explain it as a business arrangement, but the words tangled. "Mom is going to lose it," she warned. "You know how she feels about that lifestyle." The conversation ended with her hanging up in tears, and me staring at the phone, the family rejection I feared now real and raw. Natalie found me on the balcony later, my eyes red. She sat beside me, not touching, just present. "My family cut ties years ago when I refused to hide anymore," she said quietly. "It hurts, but you build new ones." Her words offered comfort yet highlighted the cost. I had chosen this path for money, but now it was costing my roots. The business rival made her move at a lunch meeting. Over salad, she leaned across the table, her eyes sharp. "Interesting how your marriage coincides with the will deadline, Natalie. My team is looking into the timing." The threat hung heavy as we left. Back at the penthouse, Natalie paced, anger flashing. "She wants my seat. We have to be more convincing." That night we attended a small dinner with key investors, and I played the role to perfection, laughing at her jokes, touching her arm for show. But the spark was no longer just for show. When her hand lingered on my back, a real flutter stirred. Later in the car, she turned to me. "Thank you, Ruby. You did not have to do that." I shrugged, masking the confusion. "We are in it together, right?" The moral dilemma deepened as I wired money home anonymously to help Mom without revealing the source. The guilt mixed with relief. Was I doing right by my family by lying, or was the lie protecting them from harsher truths? Natalie shared her own awakening one night after a stressful day. "I spent years denying who I am to fit the mold," she confessed. "This arrangement forced me to face it. You make me want to stop hiding." Her vulnerability cracked something in me. I admitted my own struggles, the college crush. I buried the fear that kept me single. The conversation turned tender, but we stopped short of anything more, the contract a barrier between us. A leaked memo from the board arrived via email the next day, questioning the marriage validity and demanding proof. Natalie slammed her fist on the table. "We fight this together." I nodded, but inside the pressure built. Societal prejudice showed in subtle ways: a waiter avoiding eye contact at a restaurant, a headline in a business blog about power couples with raised eyebrows. My internal conflict raged. The money was saving me, but the emotional toll was mounting. By the end of the month I had paid off the last debt, yet the freedom felt illusory. The awakening was slow, the realization that this paper marriage was becoming something more complicated, something that demanded I choose between past and future. The tension rose as the board meeting approached, and with it the risk of everything unraveling. The board meeting arrived with the force of a hurricane. We entered the conference room hand in hand, Natalie exuding confidence while I fought to keep my expression neutral. The questions came fast. How did you two meet? Why the sudden union? Natalie answered smoothly, but the rival pushed harder, producing documents suggesting the timing was suspicious. I stepped in, my voice steadier than I felt. Love does not follow a timeline. Just happens. The room murmured, and for a moment we held the line. But the seed of doubt was planted. Afterward, the betrayal hit from an unexpected source. One of Natalie's closest advisors, a woman I had trusted with scheduling, leaked details to the press, framing the marriage as a sham for control. The article exploded online with headlines questioning everything. My phone blew up with messages from old friends and then the call from Mom. How could you lie to us, Ruby? This lifestyle, this sin. We raised you better. Her words cut deep, the disownment final and painful. I hung up sobbing in the penthouse bathroom, the family I loved now gone because of the choice I made to stay. Natalie found me there, her face pale. I am so sorry. I never wanted this for you. We argued then, the confrontation raw and honest. You chose me for this, she said. I chose the money, I shot back. But now I am losing everything. She reached for me, but I pulled away. The power imbalance felt suffocating. I packed a bag and left for a hotel, the city feeling colder than ever. Alone in the room, I replayed every decision, the internal voices screaming about right and wrong. Was I a victim or a willing participant? The moral weight crushed me as I questioned my own desires, the feelings for Natalie that had grown despite everything. She found me the next day at the hotel, knocking persistently until I opened the door. We talked for hours, the conversation a storm of accusations and admissions. She revealed she had started to fall for me long before the gala, the research had shown my strength, and she wanted someone who could stand beside her, not just on paper. I confessed the spark was mutual, but the deception made it tainted. We cried together, the shared pain bonding us in a way money never could. I agreed to return, but with conditions: no more secrets, full transparency. The sacrifice was clear: my family for this chance at something real. The media storm intensified with paparazzi outside the penthouse. Societal prejudice turned vicious, online comments calling us frauds or worse. Yet in the quiet nights we rebuilt. Natalie canceled non-essential meetings to spend time listening to my stories from Texas. I helped her draft a statement to the board affirming our commitment. The betrayal from the advisor led to her dismissal, but the damage was done. My sister's text came later, a single message of disappointment that reopened the wound. The psychological toll was immense, but through it I felt myself awakening to who I truly was: a woman capable of love despite the cost. The public scandal peaked when the board called an emergency session to vote on Natalie's position. We prepared meticulously, reviewing every document, every appearance. I stood by her side in the meeting room, my hand in hers, not for show but for support. The rival presented her case, painting us as a calculated fraud, but Natalie countered with evidence of our growing bond, the joint accounts, the shared life. When it was my turn, I spoke from the heart. This started as a contract, but it became my choice to stay. That is real stability. The vote was close, but we won by a narrow margin, the board swayed by the genuine emotion. Afterward, the relief washed over us, but the price remained. My family had cut all contact, no calls, no updates on Mom. The loss haunted me in quiet moments. Natalie sacrificed too, selling a portion of shares to silence further inquiries, a move that weakened her control but protected us. We faced the backlash together, attending events with heads high, ignoring the stares. One night at a rooftop bar, a stranger confronted us, calling our relationship unnatural. Natalie defended us calmly, but I saw the pain in her eyes, the societal weight she had carried alone for years. Our conversations deepened into the night, exploring the moral gray areas. Was it right to have started with a lie, even for survival? I wrestled with the question daily, the awakening bringing both clarity and doubt. Natalie admitted her initial manipulation haunted her too. I chose the easy path instead of fighting the will openly, she said. But you showed me the cost. We made a pact to face whatever came next honestly. The feelings between us bloomed into something undeniable, tender moments of shared laughter and quiet support replacing the tension. A final betrayal came from an old colleague of mine who sold a story about my family disownment, adding fuel to the fire. The article portrayed me as a gold digger tearing open old wounds. I confronted the pain head-on, calling my sister to explain, but the door stayed closed. The sacrifice felt complete, my pass for a future with Natalie. She held me through the tears, promising we would build new family. The drama had tested every limit, but it also forged strength in us both. As the media frenzy died down, we began to plan beyond the contract, the possibility of making the marriage real on our terms. The months that followed brought a fragile peace amid the lingering storms. We traveled for business but stole moments for ourselves, walking in quiet parks talking about dreams. My business degree plans moved forward with Natalie's support, not as payment but as partnership. The internal conflicts eased as I embraced my identity fully, no longer hiding from myself or the world. Natalie thrived too, her leadership stronger without the shadow of the will. Yet the costs remained visible in the empty seat at holiday tables, the cautious glances from new acquaintances. One evening on the same rooftop where we had shared our first real connection, we sat watching the sunset. She turned to me, her hand finding mine. I never expected this, Ruby. The lie brought me the truth of us. I smiled through the memories of shock, betrayal, and growth. We had both paid dearly: family ties, professional risks, emotional scars. But the awakening was worth it, the love that emerged real and fierce. We decided together to renew the marriage on our terms, no more paper, only choice. The public adjusted slowly, the prejudice fading as we lived openly. As the city lights flickered on, I reflected on the journey, the decisions that shaped us, the prices exacted. The path had been fraught with confrontation and sacrifice, but it led to this moment of genuine happiness. In the end, the drama of our story proved that even from the darkest deceptions, light could emerge if both chose to fight for it. When love emerges from a web of lies and the cost includes your family and freedom, was embracing it the right choice or the biggest mistake one could make?